Hi, this is Victoria Meyer. Welcome back to the Chemical Show, where chemicals means business. We are at the start of Women's History Month, and International Women's Day is right around the corner. Creating opportunities for women in STEM and chemicals is critical to the future of our industry. Today, I have a special episode about building a culture of success for women in chemicals. And frankly, not just women, but all people, men, women, and our future generations. So, on the Chemical Show, as I interview people, I often ask them about how they get started in their career and how to create culture and success, as well as how to attract more people into the chemical industry. So, today, I am interspersing my insights from my 150 plus episodes with leaders in the industry, along with various guests of the Chemical Show. So if you are listening and you are not currently a subscriber, I'm going to tell you to pause right now and make sure you're subscribing to the Chemical Show on whatever podcast player you're on, or if you're listening on and watching on YouTube. So, and as my kids would say, just smash that subscribe button. I don't normally say that. I'm throwing that in for my girls. Anyway, creating a culture of success in chemicals includes these elements. Number one, engaging students early. Engaging them early to understand about chemistry and chemicals. So that's number one. The second one is to be inclusive, and we're going to learn more about that. The third is engaging universities as well as creating support and mentoring for our employees in the workplace. The fourth is really interesting one. Well, they're all really interesting, right? But the fourth one is about recognizing and utilizing your transferable skills. So often we see people in the industry that maybe are surprising in terms of the fact that they're working in chemicals, given where they've worked previously or the types of roles that they're in. So stay tuned, and you're going to want to listen to that one about recognizing and utilizing your transferable skills and the transferable skills of the people around you. So that's number four. Number five, empathy and the role that empathy plays in successfully innovating in our business with our customers, with our employees, and with our teams. Number six, the importance of collaboration and of being part of a whole, and helping our employees bring their whole selves to work. And we're going to learn more about that. And then number seven is the criticality of customer alignment across the organization. So stay tuned. We're getting into each one of those as we go along today. So first up, I am kicking off with Karen Tachek, who spoke to us in episode 111, Mitigating Risk in Chemicals Through Language Translation. So Karen is a PhD chemist who worked in industry and now supports the chemical industry through language translation. So you ever wondered how the safety data sheets that you're reading in different countries got appropriately transcribed into a local language? Well, thank a translator. And according to Karen and many people that I've spoken with, have you ever wondered how Karen and others got interested in chemistry and the chemical industry? Well, thank a teacher. Let's listen to Karen talk about the importance of engaging early. What got you interested in chemistry, and ultimately, what got you to what I would consider a non-traditional field for a PhD
Right,
chemist?
right, absolutely. Middle school, the teacher doing demonstration of how metals react in water. We were learning about the periodic table, flame color, whether they fizz, whether that's my first love, chemistry. I still
Absolutely.
remember potassium burns with a lilac flame and magnesium, that bright white. Anyway, that was when fell in love with chemistry. I also always loved languages. So I was trying throughout high school to study both as much science as I could, leaning chemistry, and as much language as I could. And I ended up in my undergraduate degree in the UK would be an equivalent of what you would say chemistry major with a French minor. I did spend a year abroad working in a pharma company, Rompulanc. It's now part of Sanofi Aventis. So I loved chemistry all through that time. I was the kind who went to organic chemistry college and fell more in love with organic chemistry and kept going in that direction, right? We all
Not
know there's a
me,
split,
not me.
right?
But that's
We all know
okay.
the clear split when you study organic chemistry, right? So I loved it and I went headlong into that. um, and went on to do a PhD in organic synthetic methodology in Cambridge with the late, great Dr. Stuart Warren. So early on in that PhD, though, I realized that I didn't want to be in academia. I definitely didn't want to be in that end of the spectrum. I wanted to apply the science. So when I got out, I worked as a development chemist for what was then GlaxoSmithKline. Still loved chemistry, but we moved to the States. So my husband, we wanted an adventure. So when I moved to the States, I got a job in a cosmetics and medical device company. Think lotions and potions, wound gels,
All the
moisturizing.
good
So
stuff.
that was broadening my experience, broadening my industrial experience. So that was really my chemistry early career. Then we had kids. So that's where the switch started. I did go back to work, but then I decided I didn't want to work. I took a break, had two more kids. And that was where, as a person, as a, housewife, I suppose I discovered freelance translation. So I became a linguist at that point, translating chemistry.
It's
So that was where the
interesting.
switch happened.
Yeah.
You can't translate something you don't understand, right? But you can't translate a chemistry patent or even a safety data sheet if you don't understand the chemistry, right?
Next, we're going to talk about the importance of inclusion. Inclusion is different and yet is also the leading indicator for diversity. So, Dr. Lorraine Starr was on episode 88, Building an Inclusive Culture. And Lorraine has a PhD in inclusion and diversity, which is with an emphasis on the I, inclusion, helping people feel part of the whole. And we talked again about the importance of early engagement in education and in university in particular and in high school to get students into university, and how that is one way that companies can help create that diversity and inclusion and help support women in the industry. If we look at the chemical industry, it's an old industry, it's industrial, it is STEM focused.
Mhm.
Because of its history, it can be hard to recruit people, and in particular, women and minorities
Mhm.
into the industry, which makes it hard to be diverse, which is our measurement, which also affects inclusion. How do what are the opportunities to change that? One, does this make it harder, given that we're very STEM focused? Um, And how do we create inclusion more effectively in the industry and bringing more diversity into the industry? What do you
Yeah.
observe in with what you see and what your clients see?
Yeah, in the chemical industry, which is really fascinating, and I will say the majority of chemical companies I've worked with, they get it, right? I
Mm.
like to think of my chemical community as my critical thinkers. Like they get it. I don't have to
Yeah,
explain things 20 times. They get it the first time, and we can move on. Love you guys. Um, so when we talk about increasing that diversity, inclusion is the way to increase that diversity.
yeah,
Build that inclusive organizational culture where everyone, when I get a call that we want you to come in and increase diversity in a
yeah,
chemical company, the first question is, how do you know you don't have diversity in your company?
right.
"Oh, you mean by that?" Well, if only 23% of graduates are female in chemical engineering, how many women do you have working for you? Because you can't have 23%. That means, right? Like, then let's
Yes,
look at the
I agree.
numbers,
I agree.
right?
Yeah,
Oh,
you can't
okay.
change the demographics. Back to your earlier point,
Yeah.
the demographics in match the demographic out that need to match the demographics along across the organization.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah,
And that number is lower for people of color graduating.
right.
So I think we need to step back and go, well, wait a minute. How many disabilities? How many veterans? How many, right? Let's look at the whole spectrum of this of diversity. And I also want you to recognize that as humans, we are 99.9% similar in the DNA code. That leaves one, like 0.01%. That's our specialization, right? That's our unique.
Mm,
And I am diverse from you, Victoria. We have different
yeah,
eye color.
yeah.
We live in different areas.
We had different childhoods. Right? So we already have some of that diversity. When you build that inclusive organizational culture, when everyone is feeling heard, then you bring up, how do we recruit? How do we drive attracting more diversity? And here's why we want it, right? The problem solving, understanding our customer base.
Yeah.
Okay, how are we going to get that? Well, this is where I go, you utilize your ESG, your environment, social, and governance. Are you doing anything at the local university to attract women into STEM or minorities into STEM? Are you
Yeah.
doing, like, I always come back and say, well, what are you doing to increase enrollment in your local university?
Right.
Well, we're not doing anything. Well, then you're part of the problem. Like, because I can't, we just can't manufacture diversity if we're not showing the way. I have one organization here up in New Hampshire that actually created a STEM program for all in high school, but it was really geared, and the language was geared towards women of color. Jeez, women of color, low socioeconomics.
Yeah.
So, and I say that in that, like, my daughter's going, we talked about this. My daughter, one of them is going into chemical engineering, and she's going chemical engineering tissue. So it's really cool. It's no longer, your industry's changing. It's no
I
longer just chemicals,
yeah,
like
that's awesome.
chemicals. Um, she would not have gone into this program. Mm-mm. No, because right, we're in a solid school district where she's
Yeah.
getting IB and AP and all. Yeah, they looked at a socioeconomic area that had a lot of diversity in their student population, especially girls, created a STEM light bulb program, right? They'd meet after school. They met with all kinds of chemical engineers. They met with a few other engineers as well. Mechanical came in, civics came in, civil engineers came in, mechatronics came in, and the robotics.
Yeah.
And then, if you were part of the program, here was the dangle, right? If you completed the program, they gave you $1,000 towards college
Nice.
and guaranteed you an internship your freshman year.
That's worth even more. Yeah.
It-
That's huge.
You're right. Like, I sit back and I'm like, holy crap. And these girls are all going to, right? They had 20 graduate last year.
Nice.
They're all going to STEM colleges. Um, and they're all going to come back next year, their freshman summer, and do an internship with this company. They're not going to pay. It's not a paid internship their freshman year. There's
Yeah.
your $20,000. There's your money.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, you guys banked that well.
Yeah.
And now you have loyalty. Because one thing we know about diverse candidates, you tend to be a lot more loyal. If the organization's inclusive, why would I ever want to wreck that boat? Because I've been kicked in the head enough in society.
Yeah.
So, so when I talk to this company, they're like, yeah, we don't have the numbers we want right now, but in 5 years, we are going to be leading.
And I think what's interesting about that is it is a long game. It
It's a
you
long,
don't automatically, to your point, it's hard to get 50% women in leadership at a chemical company when heck, you're not hiring in 50% women. There's not 50% women coming out of STEM degrees, et cetera.
yeah.
So it takes a long time. And there's a couple of organizations, one in particular that I've done some work with, Chemical Educational Foundation, CEF, who
Hmm.
actually targets students in middle school to get them
No.
interested in chemicals and chemistry because you have
Hmm.
to plant the seeds early.
Early. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Because you can't fix it at the tail end if you haven't fixed it at the beginning. All right. Well, I'm sensing a theme here engaging early while women and girls are still in school. The next topic is the role of mentoring, sponsorship, and support. I spoke with Juliana Pantelena of SEPSA on episode 90, Using Customer Insights to Drive Transformation. Juliana shares her insights about how creating a culture of mentoring and support is critical in creating a culture of success. Here's Juliana. From your point of view, let me ask this. How do we start attracting more women
into the industry? Because I think that's, you can only promote based on what the pool of available candidates is. We can only bring women into the industry that have not just the desire, but they also have the credentials, right? Either as
Mm.
engineers or finance or marketing, whatever it may be. How do we create that success? What's been critical for you, and how do you think we help the next generation?
Great question. And I think that you start with what you said about the basis. In Brazil, I used to be invited into my old university to give some speeches over there. That would
Yeah.
definitely trigger, like women to understand where we could go. So I think that we need to straighten our relationship with our universities, or even wherever we are working. We're so global that we can work from everywhere, but straighten relationship with universities, or even potentially schools, right? Because it's in school that women, everybody actually make the decision of what they're gonna do with their lives.
Yeah.
Just to trigger a little bit more on this pool of people that would be available, right? But definitely, I like to have great people working within their teams, right? It can be men, it can be women, it can be different genders, diversity, whatever. It doesn't matter. They need to bring value to the team. Um, Women specifically, we definitely can, try to look more for them. Like when you're hiring an intern, you're hiring an analyst, a manager, a director, whoever, definitely keep our eyes open and understand the differences between the men and the women that are over there fighting for that job, and get whoever is the best. I definitely need to say, because we need to be conscious about that, but give women a little bit more on you know availabilities or opportunities, if so. But honestly, that's nice. What be made me, like, personally speaking, be here and hopefully continue to grow is the people that support me. So I have,
Mm.
and I used to have, and I still do, but great, I would say, coaches, but not because they were my coaches. At one point, they were my bosses during my whole career, and they used to help me a lot. They understand what we go through. They can help us, giving us advices, supporting what we do, or how we tweak some things that needs to be better. And that's for anybody, again, men, women, whoever.
Yeah.
But having people that support us, that you can, just pick up the phone and say, hey, I need help because this is happening. Doesn't matter if you still work with this person or not. That's what really makes a difference. So having a mentor, having someone that helps us makes the difference whenever you're trying to jump in your career and take some different or difficult decisions.
I think that's coaching and mentoring and having the network to support you is so
For sure.
critical for everyone to
Yes.
really be able to thrive and grow.
Yes.
Yeah.
Feel safe, right? To know, like, I
Mm.
know that I can count with this or that person, and because these people will keep helping you to keep growing in the industry, or
Yeah.
whatever your goal is. Maybe your goal is not is to be where you want, and that's it. Maybe my goal is to keep traveling. Maybe my goal is to be where I am. But you need people to support you, and you feel comfortable to discuss about it.
Next up on creating a culture of success is identifying, recognizing, and enabling transferable skills. It is rare that somebody shows up that has exactly what you think they need, or perhaps exactly the experience that looks and feels and is shaped like you want that person's experience and their expertise, et cetera, to be. So, my next guests in this little clip is Jen McIntyre and Kelly Gilroy from Univar Solutions. And they were on episode 68 of The Chemical Show. And the episode is entitled On Creating a Unique Culture, Digital Transformation, and Sustainability in the Chemical Industry. And what I think is really great about these two ladies is they've both had tremendously successful careers. And a big part of it is embracing and identifying transferable skills and not being afraid to go after a different role. So, Jen and Kelly will both talk about that. I'm not going to steal their thunder. Here we go.
very different routes. Jen started early, and I would say I was a late bloomer. So I actually studied accounting in college, and I'm a CPA, and was studying accounting because I was a school that was good at accounting. The practical side of me said, "Oh, I'll always have a job." So I started actually at JP Morgan Chase, and my pattern in life was start in finance and end up over on the business side. So I went to banking school. I ended up working for a customer. Same thing. Started in finance, went over to the line, and that's why I love chemicals, because in chemicals I went right to the business side, and I started at, it was actually Nalco Chemicals, at Nalco Company,
Yeah.
which is now Eco Labs, and they were going through a merger and needed someone in Chicago. So not only did I get to learn chemistry, but I also actually have my first full-time sales job where, when you're in banking, I think we called ourselves relationship managers.
Right.
And so, really what I had skills in was solving complex problems, negotiating with lots of different stakeholders. And, in banking, I just always wanted to be where we were making something. And chemicals did that. And there's a lot of innovation here and there's a lot of connectivity.
That's awesome. And it's interesting that you started in banking because I don't think of people making the leap from banking and finance in that world into the chemical industry, right? Kind of a bit of a hands-off, kind of clean industry into a hands-on industry. So that is a big leap.
Yes, and it's been a lot of fun, but a lot of the same skills. I like to be on the customer side, so I learned I love the language of finance, so I can really help our customers know how they're going to make money. Same thing on the supply side. So I look at accounting as a language that connects us all. And as I move into sustainability, we need to find ways where we can grow sustainably. So we've got to make money, but often that comes with an investment too.
And I think you're right. I mean, there has to be a case for action and a business case. People aren't going to they're not going to make change. They're not going to buy a product. They're not going to take on a new initiative just because it's fun. It's got to make business sense, financial sense to yourself, to your customers, to your suppliers, et cetera. So see that connection. Jen, you've spent a big part of your career in supply chain. You've talked about that. And yet today you lead people and culture for Univar. Was that a stretch? I mean, because it feels like a stretch. And then again, not maybe. So how about for you? What's your perspective on that?
It's a great question, and I actually get asked it a lot. And I think it's really important that people recognize how highly transferable skills are. I think that sometimes we think that we want to stay in our lane when in fact the things that you're really good at can transfer over. And for me, um, process, right? So, everything has a process,
Yeah.
and data, there's data behind everything. And so if you can bring process and data, which is something that obviously I would have brought through operations supply chain, but bring that over to our human capital, it adds a lot of value, right? So I think that that's very transferable. To me, one of the things that I've loved about being at Univar Solutions is that it's a company where you have a lot of opportunity. I have spent a lot of my time at Univar Solutions on people-centered solutions. And so, particularly we did the integration, focusing on culture, was something that was so important to take the culture of Univar and the culture of Nexio Solutions. And, how do we come together to create our own unique culture versus, one or the other? And so, it's almost like, I mean, what I've said to people is, um, it wasn't my aspiration to be a chief human resources officer. But in a way, I was interviewing for it for my entire career, because it's always been so central to who I am.
Next up is the importance of empathy in creating your culture of success. And this is empathy in innovation and empathy and innovation. Rashtakana Barentz talks to us about the role of empathy in innovation. And it's empathy and being empathetic to your customer, to your employees, and to your end customer, and creating this culture of collaboration, empathy, and opportunity within your team and your broader stakeholder set. So here's Rashta. She was featured on episode 96 of The Chemical Show, Increasing Demand of Biotechnology in Cleaning. Here we go.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about innovation a little bit. So that's your focus, and it seems like it's been your focus for quite a long time. What does the innovation process look like at Berens? Where does it start? Where does it end? How do you progress through that process?
Yeah, to me, innovation is everywhere. It's not just a product. It could be a process. It's everywhere, right? So how can we think of new ways of doing things and developing things that add value? So at Barnes, there's three main factors. In my mind, the first one is technical and ideation expertise. The second aspect is the product portfolio. And the third aspect is market insight and intelligence. So this is the consumer insights, the customer insight. I think, innovation in general, we need to have the technical expertise as the backbone, but we need to have empathy for the consumer, empathy for the customer, empathy with our team members, along with curiosity. So those are the three things: curiosity, to ideate, to look for
Yeah.
new solutions, to be innovative.
Mm, that's really good. And empathy, that's a really interesting take on it. But I think you're right. We have to be um, empathetic to our customers and our consumers to be able to meet their needs and to the team as well, right? As you go through this process.
Empathy is really understanding the other person's struggle. So it could be a win-win situation, right? What is the
Right.
struggle that they're trying to solve?
Tying into this, the next factor in building a culture of success is collaboration. Here we've got JC Bradshaw of Palmer Holland talking about attracting and retaining talent in the chemical industry. And according to JC, and probably according to a lot of people, collaboration is key. JC was featured on episode 93 of The Chemical Show, creating a robust employee value proposition.
So as you guys look to recruit younger employees, I'll say recent college grads, maybe not directly from college, but certainly like in the first 5 to 10 years, millennials and Gen Z, I guess we're getting into.
These.
Yeah. Um, what are they looking for? What are their priorities? I think this is sometimes a mystery. And yeah, we all have an opinion on it. But what are they really looking for in companies that they're going to?
So, I touched on that collaboration and just the notion that, what does it mean to collaborate and be connected with each other? Continuing to expand the boundaries of what partnership means, both internally and externally in every form, employees are looking for ways that they can connect and find camaraderie in each other, whether remote or in person. Employees are looking for ways in which they can feel and see the value that they're bringing and say, hey, the work that I'm doing today matters. And focusing on how we can continue to provide engagement opportunities or ways in which they can feel invested in a part of Palmer Holland is definitely something that I think that they're after. And not stopping there and saying, hey, yeah, I really love being a part of Palmer Holland and my needs are being met, but what is Palmer Holland doing for others? And, how are they giving back? How are we being better strategic partners to some of our principals and our customers? And, what are the ways in which we are affecting our community and, positively? I think they're after that. They want to see that and they want to see, not just lip service, but they want to see an organization that's doing it, that's acting on that. Last week we had a Palmer Holland Day of Service where our workforce, either in person or remote, was given opportunities to give back to the community. We had a food bank organization, Laura's Home, and it really gave employees an opportunity to unplug maybe from the day to day responsibilities that they always, do, and say, hey, I'm going to just take a moment with my colleagues and give back while we're doing it. And I think that's important because it's all a blend, but people are really looking for an organization where they can have it all.
Our final highlight and final message on building a culture of success comes from Sarah Waller of Advancix. Sarah was featured on episode 75 of The Chemical Show. And in talking about business transformation, we also discussed the critical skills that people across the company need to develop to create customer transformation and a culture of success. And Sarah's point was about customer alignment and that recognizing that every role across the company is customer facing in its own way, and that we can create opportunities to harness that and to bring the team into alignment to create that culture. So here's Sarah.
Sarah, since you've been in your role, have really been leading and driving transformation or just been part of, I guess, Advancix transformation journey. And you have a lot of people working for you, both from a business perspective and a manufacturing perspective. When you think about that transformation and the people that are involved in it, what are the critical skills for the future?
It is a big transformation. The privilege of leading a very talented team, sales, marketing, manufacturing, customer experience, R&D, and we are at a pivot point, as we talked about in our evolution, right? Moving from a company that has this very rich history in manufacturing to truly understanding our customers in a way that we can help them grow.
Yeah.
For me, there's a lot of critical skills to lead this type of change, highlighting a couple: customer focus, planning and alignment, and the ability to really do that, and leadership for the post-COVID era, right? So
Yeah.
you think about customer focus in a company that has a lot of history in manufacturing. This means that everyone in this organization has to have a picture where we're headed and how we serve our customers, right? So, we all impact our customers. We're all
Yeah.
in some way, shape, or form customer serving, right? And it's
Right.
not always that internal customer. There's that big customer at the end here, right? And that's something that there's an opportunity to coach and mentor our teams to make sure they understand that the decisions they're making make a difference for our customers.
Yeah.
We talked a little bit about digitization and, positioning and all that stuff earlier too. Planning and aligning piece. I mean, I think that this is really around strategy and communications and the ability to make decisions quickly to pivot directions, make a decision, fail fast, move on, move at the pace of the industry. And I think also, as we're kind of getting into this era, we've typically in the industry, at least what I've seen, we've thought about leaders as either strategists who transform or operators who execute. And I think now you need both of those.
Yeah.
That ratio could change depending on what you need business to business from time to time, but those are important.
All right, folks, and that's a wrap. We started out this episode talking about the importance of creating a culture of success for women in chemicals and bringing more women into the chemical industry as part of Women's History Month. However, this also is really applicable to all of our employees, making them feel collaborative, empathetic, engaged, starting early in the educational process, introducing them to chemistry and the chemical industry and STEM fields. So, a lot of great tips and tidbits here in this episode of The Chemical Show. I hope that you enjoyed it. Please leave me a message. In fact, if you did enjoy it, you could leave a 5-star review. We always like those. But also go ahead and send me a message on LinkedIn. I'd love to hear from you in terms of what stood out for you and what would you add to this list when we talk about building a culture of success. What else do we need to add? So thanks for listening to The Chemical Show today. Keep listening, keep following, keep sharing, and we will talk with you again soon.